Capture all of life's greatest moments with Alan's Film and Photography. Whether for weddings, graduations, photo shoots, awards functions, whatever the occasion, Alan's Film and Photography must be recommended. Make your appointment today. Call them at 416-2190 or like their Facebook page, Alan's Film and Photography. Follow them on Instagram at AL_Lens. That's AL_LENS. Alan's Film and Photography. Professional and courteous service that is second to none.
For all your natural hair care, braiding, creaming, and more, it's got to be creative and unique hairstyles. Located at shop number 12, Village Plaza, Constant Spring Road. Call them today at 478-4979. Creative and unique hairstyles done by Tamara. Visit them today. You'll be glad you did.
Grandeur Mail carries the trendiest, unique, and unusual clothing items at affordable prices. We are the one-stop spot where we can get everything to suit your needs. We have various brand names such as Massimo Dutti, Paul Smith, Aeropostale, Guess, Poland's Bear, Tommy Hilfiger, and many more. We also carry our very own line of clothing in the store. We offer good customer service that will keep you wanting to come back, and not only to shop, but for the laughter and the warm comfort there is. We're located at Grandeur Plaza, 38 Constant Spring Road, Kingston 10, Jamaica. Telephone 754-8618, 410-5787. Follow us on Twitter at Mail Grandeur. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Grandeur Mail. Email us at grandeur.mail@gmail.com or check out our website at www.grandeurjamaica.com.
Donna's Nail Creations, located at Salon Exquisite, Village Plaza, Kingston, is a place to be for professional and unique nail care and designs. Come to Donna's Nail Creations for manicures, pedicures, French tips, refill, overlay, nail repair, tip, and acrylic. Check out their specials on pedicures for $799 and tip and acrylic for $15.99. That's Donna's Nail Creations at Salon Exquisite, Village Plaza. Telephone 378-4919. Follow them on Instagram at DonnaMarie22.
You look good in the place, my girl. Hot in the place, my girl. Sexy, my girl. Swag done up.
Welcome back to Talk Jamaica, streaming live at talkjamaicaradio.com. My name is Ricardo Brooks. My co-host this week is Ralston Chamberlain. We continue our discussion segment. Jamaican free-to-air television stations, CBN TV and Television Jamaica, in recent years have elicited the wrath of several cable subscribers when they secure broadcast rights of major events such as the FIFA World Cup and the Olympic Games, and more recently, international pageants. In 2013, TVJ drew the ire of some cable subscribers when it purchased the rights to The Voice, when Jamaican singer, Tessan Chin, was a competitor. Viewers complained of technical challenges with the RJR group, which the RJR group quickly addressed. Essentially, when these broadcast rights are secured by either station, it makes that the content cannot and should not be broadcast in Jamaica by any cable outlet. To understand more about securing broadcast rights, what it means and the legality of it all, we're pleased to be joined by the Managing Director of the RJR Communications Group and Media Association of Jamaica Executive Member Gary Allen and Attorney at Law Kenyatta Powell. Good afternoon, gentlemen. All right, Mr. Allen, let me start with you. Persons have complained about the fact that they pay for their cable service and are not able to view the event on cable. What would you want to say to them this afternoon?
I would say that is a very good question that they have raised, but we do not operate cable stations, and the question ought to be directed to the cable operators.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kenyatta, from a legal standpoint, Mr. Allen says we really should direct these concerns and the browsers to the cable operator. What does it mean exactly when a free-to-air television station secures the right to broadcast particular content? Because a lot of persons have been asking, is this legal?
Well, it's actually perfectly legal. The first thing we need to understand is the concept of ownership, copyright. So that when a piece of music or other piece of entertainment is made, somebody ultimately owns that it's a legal fiction. So somebody actually owns that material, and the person who owns it can sell it and can grant restricted access to it. So that what happens is that the distribution company, which owns, for instance, the Miss Universe pageant or the Olympic Games or popular television shows like Scandal or Suits, what they will do, because they're the ultimate owner of that product, they will sell broadcast rights, and in many cases, exclusive broadcast rights to various entities. And when they do so, because they're the owner of the content, they can actually stipulate in their contractual arrangement who can show the content and where. Who can show the content and where, so that when you contract with your cable operator to provide you access to, for instance, the USA channel, you have only contracted to have access to only the material that the USA channel has the rights to show in Jamaica. So that if another broadcaster owns the exclusive rights in Jamaica, then the USA channel cannot broadcast the material in Jamaica, and any agent of the USA channel, in this case the cable company, which gives you access to the USA channel in Jamaica, similarly would not be able to broadcast the material that is the subject of an exclusive broadcast right of another channel. So it all boils down to ownership. Who owns what, and therefore has the ability to control access. So the short answer is that yes, it's perfectly legal.
Okay. Gary Allen, walk our listeners through the process of how exactly the RJR group goes about securing the rights to broadcast an event.
Okay, just before I answer that question, if you don't mind me saying a couple of things about the answer that was given by Kenyatta just now.
Sure, go ahead.
One of the things that needs to be addressed in Jamaica is the question of whether or not all the channels that are being shown in Jamaica are being shown in Jamaica with the knowledge and with the authority of the owners of the channel. There is a very serious concern that many of the channel operators that we meet with have expressed to us consistently about whether or not their negotiations with us take into account the fact that we are seeing their channels in Jamaica. And in fact, they emphatically and categorically state that channels that we are telling them that we are watching in Jamaica at home are not channels that they have authorized to be sold in Jamaica. And now that's why I said that somebody else needs to answer that question. And if I, as a cable subscriber at home, buys a package, and the package has in 20, 50, 100, 200 channels, and my assumption is that I am entitled to receive those because I am paying for it, that's a reasonable assumption. If, however, the persons who come here from time to time sit down and look and say, wait, what is that channel doing here? That's not a channel that is authorized for viewing outside of the United States of America. Then the question of whether or not a program on the channel is what is creating the difficulty is not the case. And so to get to the specifics of what you asked, we will see content that we will wish to buy. The content may come to us at the program screenings that we attend, and they have program screenings in Europe, they have program screenings in Los Angeles, they have program screenings in Florida that we attend from time to time. In fact, there are even a few program screening efforts in the Caribbean. We go to those events, people present their work, and they say, we are licensing this work in this territory for cable only. And so if you're a cable operator, you can buy it for cable only. Or they will say we are licensing it for free-to-air only. Or they will say we are licensing it for free-to-air and cable. and you can choose to buy for both if you wish. And the price is generally predicated on whether you're buying for one thing or the other. And then it comes down to the economics of what it is that I am willing to pay and what I think I can recover if I have it exclusively on my station. Or there are some other things that are far more significant than that. For the Olympics, for example, the International Olympic Committee sells its rights in terms every country is accounted for, but they might be in zones. So Canada is sold separate from the United States. The U.S. is sold separate from Mexico. Then there is a grouping that is sold to a broadcasting group called OTI, which is Spanish for International Television Organizations in Latin America. They sell the Caribbean separately, and even within the Caribbean, they will sell Cuba separately from selling Haiti, from selling the Dominican Republic, and they'll sell the English-speaking Caribbean together. Europe is sold separately. Australia is sold separately in some instances. Sometimes it's Australasia that they sell, so they sell New Zealand and Australia together. And everybody does that with their rights, and it is their business to do. I want us to bear in mind that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Anything that we create in Jamaica, and we talk about building a creative industry, anything we create in Jamaica that we are saying, oh, people need to produce for the international market. If when you produce it here, people take your content because it is accessible either on satellite or on internet or something and just use it without having an agreement to do so, then you're saying to our Jamaican producers, what you produce can only be sold to the people in Jamaica where you can police it, and the agreements that we are not willing to honor for people overseas, don't expect those people overseas to honor those agreements for us in Jamaica. So as simple as that.
Okay, Kenyatta, let me ask you, because it seems to me that we're hearing now that in some instances, cable operators may not legally be transmitting the content that they are. So what exactly is the role of the Broadcasting Commission in all of that?
Well, the role of the Broadcasting Commission has several roles. And one of its roles would be, in reference to broadcasting, would be to be a watchdog. And I think they've come up and they've said this already, watchdog where copyright is concerned. So my understanding of their role is that they're actually supposed to be out there doing something to ensure that our cable operators are only providing access to television stations from the United States and Canada and elsewhere, that they actually have the legal right to provide. Because outside of that, then we would be gaining access here through our cable providers to these channels illegally. But I think what it boils down to is, and I'll go back to it again, I think Gary touched on it a little bit, is the issue of rights and of ownership. So that I've seen several people say, but I pay my cable operator and now I can't get sued. There's a legal principle, and I'm usually known to use Latin and the layperson, but the principle is nemo dat quod non habet, and what it means is that you can't sell more than you own. So to the extent that your cable operator doesn't actually have the right to either broadcast a certain channel, and even if he does, if that channel that he's broadcasting here in Jamaica doesn't actually have the right to show a certain series or a certain program that may be available to its North American audience, then your cable operator can't actually sell you access to either a channel or a television program that the person that he doesn't have access to, he doesn't have the right to broadcast, or the channel he's selling to doesn't have the right to broadcast either. And so we get into the issue again of respecting ownership rights, and it's a serious issue in Jamaica where copyright is concerned. I mean, you can walk the street in Harford Tree And it's one of the things I found funny. I'm saying to somebody that, you know, the week after, or maybe a month after a season of any popular show finishes, you can go into Half a Tree, and there are several spots where you could go and that entire season on DVD. So that what has happened here in Jamaica is that we've fallen, unfortunately, into this culture of saying that, boy, if I pay $500 for the DVD, or if I pay my cable operator the subscription fee every month, then the entire discussion about who owns what is finished. A man can't sell you, if a man sells you stolen goods, the goods remain stolen, and they don't belong to you because you have paid him $500.
So is it fair? So is it fair then, Kenyatta, to say that possibly Jamaicans are paying for illegal cable?
From my reading of what's been happening and from what has been said, yes, there are several channels being offered in certain cable packages, and I won't say which ones, that from what I've heard and from what I've read, should not be broadcast in Jamaica. And I think what has happened is that maybe the owners of these channels, these stations, have turned a blind eye thus far. But I think when these people decide that they are going to engage in certain kinds of enforcement, I don't think that the practice could go on much further than that. So yes, I hear the complaint. But what I would say is that people must become more informed as to what they are buying, and more importantly, what they can buy from their cable operators.
Well, can I also add something to that?
Sure.
I mean, the issue to do with The Voice was referenced in your opening remarks. Mm-hmm. The Voice was aired on NBC. Do you know that NBC's executives have told me, have sent documentation in writing, that NBC is not available legally in Jamaica? The same is true of ABC, of CBS, of Fox. When we had the Commonwealth Games, we had a program on the Commonwealth Games that was, we had a cable service that was broadcasting the Commonwealth Games. And when I contacted the CEO of the Canadian Broadcasting Company, which was the station that was being relayed, he promptly called in his general legal counsel, who advised that there is no station in the Caribbean that is to be legally broadcasting the Canadian Broadcasting Company, which is the channel that was carrying the Commonwealth Games.
But Mr. Allen,
things happen.
But Mr. Allen, why wouldn't TVJ have brought it to the attention of the public that effectively what you're saying now is that the Broadcasting Commission isn't doing a very good job?
Well, we have constantly been engaged with the Broadcasting Commission and with cable operators about this issue. We have it gets complex, although from our standpoint it is quite simple. It gets complex because let me tell you two of the arguments that are introduced that makes it not black and white for some people. So you will notice that NBC may have an affiliate in Miami, or you might see the NBC affiliate in Chicago on your cable service. NBC says that you are not authorized to carry NBC outside of the United States. However, the affiliate in Miami made one arrangement with the Caribbean Cable Cooperative, which says you can carry my affiliate channel from Miami in the Caribbean. They don't own all the content that is on the service. They own some that they insert, but NBC's portion that is on the service, they don't own and can't speak for it. So there has been a long-standing battle, and in fact there is even some legal wrangling that has gone on for well over 10 years as to whether or not an affiliate service using the base of a network is authorized to sell that network service elsewhere. So that's one of the things that clouds the issue. The problem that you have with that is when we, for example, wanted to air The Voice, we actually went to air The Voice on TVJ to get the free-to-air rights only, and we were quite willing to air it on a delayed basis if that was what we could get. It is not owned by NBC. NBC says it is not our program. They gave us the contact for whose program it was. We contacted the owners of the program, and they said, yes, you can have the rights. I'll sell you a package for the full set of rights. You can get radio, you can get television, you can get cable television, you can get direct to home, which is the small dish services. You can get internet rights for the Jamaican market because nobody in Jamaica has those rights. So you can get them all from us and you can have them exclusively. That's how we came to have it because nobody else in Jamaica had those rights.
And if I may interrupt Gary here, what I would jump in and say that one of the things he said a while ago is very important is that he will correct me if I'm mistaken, if I haven't got what he has said. He has said that they actually approached NBC first to try to get the broadcasting rights, and NBC said, well, this is not our program. We actually, NBC don't own it, right? And so that's a distinction that I think a lot of Jamaicans are actually not getting. They see this show on NBC or ABC or wherever, and they assume that ABC or NBC owns the thing outright, when what happens is that these days what you normally have happening is that you have a distribution company or a production company entirely outside of the corporate setup of the TV channel that's broadcasting the thing. They make the content, and then they enter into a contract with the NBC or CBS or ABC to broadcast the content. And when they enter into these contracts, they usually say, well, we are selling it to you, NBC or CBS or ABC, to broadcast it here in the States. But the same company will go to Australia and say to Australia, I am selling you, whichever station it is in Australia, the rights to broadcast in Australia, and they will go to Canada and do the same, and the United Kingdom, and they will come to Jamaica and they will do the same, right?
Precisely.
Yes,
I'll give you a better example, Kenyatta. Many people remember the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah used to be aired on CBS. Oprah used to buy the airtime on CBS and put her program on with her own commercials. CBS is entitled to be aired in the United States alone. Oprah had a company called Harpo. Harpo would send representatives to every Caribbean country to sell them the Oprah Winfrey Show. So the broadcaster in Jamaica who was carrying the Oprah Winfrey Show, I think CVM was the one who was carrying the Oprah Winfrey Show, they had to do a contract with her company, Harpo, to show it. So when it was being shown on CBS on cable, it was in breach of CVM's rights at the time. It's the same thing that happens to the Olympics. The Olympics are sold by the International Olympic Committee to NBC for the United States, to CBC in Canada for Canada, and last time around it was sold to IMC, the owners of Sportsmat, for the Caribbean, who then unsold the last Olympics to CBM. In those circumstances, NBC was not authorized to be shown in Jamaica, even though the channel could have been accessed. Access does not mean that you have a right to it. Access, if you pass somebody's yard and the gate is open and you have access to go in there and to drive out a car, that does not mean you have the right to do it. They will lock you up because it is stealing. The fact that the content is available over our atmosphere that you can pull down by a satellite does not mean it is yours to take and use.
Yes, and I think it's important that we analogize the situation too,
that very issue of somebody's open gate and whether or not you could just go in and take what you want. And so, yes, I on a basic human level, I understand the frustration, and I think there is actually another point to be made here, and it's this. So we have the issue of ownership and respect for people's ownership rights, which I think we're having a serious problem with. But I think more than that is the issue, and this may be something for Gary and other people involved with your local free-to-air stuff. But you see, the standards of the broadcasting, I don't say broadcasting standards, but maybe the broadcasting regulations that affect what can be shown on your free-to-air network sort of television in the States, it would be different from what our broadcasting commission would say that and I'm not talking about what's actually in the content. Those are content that CVM or TVJ plan to show. Would that content run afoul of any broadcasting regulations, really? You know, sexual content, strong language, that kind of thing. And I think that what's frustrating a lot of people is that the rules are clearly different, right? So there are things I know watch on certain American channels, which in the United States would be considered cable, right? That I know there are certain scenes, there are certain themes, there are certain issues which are dealt with in a certain way. In a lot of these programs which have become popular in Jamaica that I know would not be able to be shown in that way on TVJ or CVM just because of the rules that we have here. It's become standard practice, for instance, in the States now, virtually every series, and it's not even token anymore, virtually every series you watch has an obligatory LGBT storyline, which sometimes involves, and you don't have to go to LGBT, sometimes it's the sexual storyline sometimes involves what a lot of older Jamaicans I suspect would think would be very explicit content, and I know that cannot be shown on TVJ and CVM. And since I have Gary here, one of the complaints I would make on behalf of all of the frustrated Jamaicans is that I don't like the way you people bleep things, because sometimes I get the feeling that it's done so badly that I lose entire tracks of a conversation happening between two characters, and I know that when I watch it, the unedited, unabridged version from another source, I won't say what source it is because I don't want to get myself into any trouble. That, I say, boy, is that one word TVJ was trying to get rid of and miss half the conversation.
Kenyatta, Gary Allen, we're pressed for time, so we're going to have to unfortunately leave it there. But I want to thank you so very much for joining us. And this is a conversation that we hope we can have for a more extended period of time, because it's very important. And certainly I've learned a lot about what's been happening. We want to tell you, listeners, that we did invite the Broadcasting Commission to join this discussion. They declined, saying no one was available. And I think it's a little bit clearer to me, at least, why they would have declined. But we want to thank you so very much. Gary Allen, Managing Director of the RJR Communications Group. Kenyatta Powell is an attorney at law. Thank you so very much for joining us.
But before I go, if I could give the Broadcasting Commission some unsolicited advice, I think what they should do is to hold a forum somewhere to clearly explain these issues to Jamaicans, because the longer the issues remain unexplained, the more frustrated people are going to get.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you.